Hey, y'all, I'm Shane Sams. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast today. For those who may not know, I'm a self-employed, location-independent, family-focused entrepreneur, and I make my entire living online. That was my dream when I started my business, but this podcast is not about me. I started this podcast to help you find success too by interviewing some of the biggest authors, influencers, and entrepreneurs on the planet. My mission is to unlock their strategies and tactics that my guests use to succeed so you can go out and find your success as well. Which brings me to my guest today. My guest today is the founder of TotalLifeFreedom.com, Vincent Pugliese. I had to pronounce that one a couple times and practice it, y'all, to get it right. I've known Vincent for a long time. We've been Facebook friends for years, and he has an amazing business, an amazing story, and I know it's going to help you today. We're going to talk about a whole lot of things. We got some crazy stories of our past lives before online business, but we're also going to talk about building that total life freedom, a life where you can get up and do anything you want, controlling every minute of your day, a business where you can work from anywhere where there's internet access. If you want to go on the road for 8 weeks, Vince has done it, and he's going to tell you how he does it every single time. And we got off on a tangent about 8 revenue streams that you can piggyback off of a membership website. Now, if you're a course salesperson, an online business owner, and especially if you've got a membership or a subscription, Vince started rattling off all the ways he's making money off of his membership, and I only had like 3 of the 8. So I learned 5 new strategies that I'm going to use in my business, and I know you're going to be able to use them to grow your online business too. I had a blast talking to Vincent. Not only are you going to learn a lot about business, but you're going to hear about the time he was standing next to a man when they pulled his tooth out through his nose. I kid you not. So turn it up, get a notepad and a pen, pour a cup of coffee or a big mason jar of sweet tea, sit back and enjoy the show. Three, two, one. Vince, what's happening, man?
What's up, Shane?
Dude, we have talked online for so many years on Facebook, and I feel like I already know you, but this is actually the first time we've had a chance to sit down for an hour and chill, and that's amazing.
It's so wild.
It's amazing, man. So what were we talking about a second ago? What were we talking about a second ago? We were talking about off air.
We were making fun of my name.
Okay, that's cool. All right, we got that one covered.
Trying to think. We
were talking about how we met. So yes. I want to give a shout out to Anthony Williver. Before we go any farther, because I actually recorded a podcast with Anthony very recently, and Anthony had an amazing story about overcoming suicidal thoughts, negative things in his life, and you, dude, connected me with Anthony. Like I didn't know that me and Jocelyn were actually a part of that story. Like he was listening to our podcast interview, and he got a little hope. And man, when you sent that to me, I was having a really bad day one day. And I get this message out of nowhere from a guy whose name I can't even pronounce. And he's like, "Hey, Shane, what's up? I'm so-and-so. And you got to know this, man." And you introduced me to Anthony. And that story has just brought me so much hope and so much goodness on bad days, man. And I wanted to thank you before we started for just connecting me with Anthony.
It was my pleasure. It's when Anthony told me the story, and I don't think he knew that I knew you. I was like, I need to do this. I need to make, and it's what I try to do on a daily basis. It's what I want other people to do is how do you bring people together that really need to know each other? I know we're all connected on the internet, but we're really not personally connected. Right.
Yeah.
And when you get a personal introduction. So as soon as I heard that, I'm like, I don't know Shane. I know him online. I know he likes wrestling. I know
we're Facebook friends and we see each other in the timeline. Right?
I know the flip lifestyle. I know everything. I know your work, but I'm like, I'm not sure if he's going to be receptive to it, right? Because you connect people sometimes they don't want to, and they're not interested, and authentic or genuine. And as soon as I sent that message and your response back, I was like, it really just felt good to bring you guys together because it was so needed. So
yeah, man, the universe was aligning that day. God was putting some things in motion, and I was thinking, I know what we were talking about. So like, we're really into this. I don't know how you organize your calendar, but like we do this thing called the 12-week year by Brian Moran. You ever heard of that before?
Brian actually I was fortunate. He endorsed my first book, Freelance to Freedom.
That's amazing, dude. I've got him coming on the podcast and I can't wait to meet him. I can't wait to talk to him. So I got into this book. Jocelyn bought it for me like 2 years ago. And of course I flipped through it and put it down and just did whatever I was doing. You know how it is for books. And like, then for some reason, man, a buddy of mine, Scott Beebe, he said he brought this back up in a conversation at a live event we were at. And I said, maybe I should give that book a revisit. So we went down that rabbit hole of, man, doing daily tactical things to get to your goals, treating a 12-week period like it's the year. What if one of your daily things, you know how we all say we try to reach out and meet people and do that? What if one of your daily tasks was to connect two people together that you knew? Oh my gosh, every 90 days you're introducing 180 people to each other or whatever. How much impact would that have on the world if we did be intentional about doing that? You know,
it's the core. It's what I try to do every day. I really do. Because when you start looking at that, you start seeing people different ways. You start saying, as opposed to, you know, I joke around like people are very selfish, right? We're all very, we don't want to admit it, but what are your goals? Our goals are always about us, right? And it's like, what do I get? How do I get there? As opposed to, how can I help other people get there? And we all know that reciprocity is real and stuff comes back to you. The reason why I'm on here is because it was for you and Anthony. It wasn't for me. And then you invite me to be on here. I'm like, wow, okay, I got something from it, which is pretty cool, right? But I didn't mean to. It wasn't the intention. But when you start looking at people like, instead of just a friend or, you know, maybe a client, it's like, who do they need to meet? And what is it in their world? So, you know, all these different worlds that connect in my life, I get to bring people together that would, you know, not all in the podcasting worlds. They're all different worlds. So if I can bring them together, I'm bridging these gaps for people. It just later on when it gets talked about, people are appreciate it, and it just brings goodness into the world. I don't know why we don't do it more. But
everything's so transactional now.
Yes.
And I think the pandemic kind of made it worse, bro. Like, because like the pandemic made it where, you know, before there were interactions in the real world so much more, and it's coming back. I don't want to give everybody a dark cloud right now. We're about to explode. The whole world's about to be amazing. And when everything just totally opens back up, all this pent up demand for being in person together, you know, it's going to be incredible. It's probably going to be the best experience of our life after the worst, right? But like the during the pandemic though, things got super transactional because everything got so fast. It was like the difference in paying with cash and paying with PayPal. Like everything's Zoom, everything's this, everything's that. And it did start to feel like, I don't know, you were just like transacting with everybody, and you couldn't have that in-person relational story-driven chance to hang out with people. And I think that something like this, like that'd be amazing. It would bring that back faster, and we wouldn't have to wait for it, you know?
And you know, meeting in person, it's a different feel. Like online's great. And we've been so fortunate to have an online business over these last 3 or 4 years, because you saw what happened. Online business went up in 2021.
Oh yeah.
Brick and mortar got crushed. Right. So we're sitting here, everybody's like, oh, how are you doing? I'm like, I hate to say it, but we're doing really well. I feel bad because I know a lot of people aren't. But it's because of the online world. But we've missed something in terms of that life.
Let's explore that for a second. Then I want to get down the total life freedom rabbit hole here. But like, I hear this a lot, and I've heard it a lot lately. So I'm in course in masterminds. You're in masterminds. We hang out with mostly probably online entrepreneurish people, right? And I always hear that my business is killing it. Like our business, our revenue went up 39% in 2020. Crazy, right? Yeah. I mean, at the beginning of 2020, I was like, all right, we're not going quietly into the night. We'll fight our way to death, right? Because I thought the whole world was going to destroy it. And then I hear someone else say that, then I hear you say that, then I hear other people say that. And our gut reaction though is that almost apologetic feeling. And I don't want to overshadow the empathy in that statement of, man, I almost feel bad. Man, my business is doing this, and I know other people are suffering, but like, I wonder why we do that. Like, why is it not okay to have empathy and not feel bad?
I think it's a fine line. I think we have to be careful. I'm an Italian New Yorker, right? It's hard for me not to just speak my mind and piss people off, right? It's just hard to not do it. But I've learned some couth a little bit over the years. And you do learn, like, I don't think you hide your success. I don't think that's good for anybody, because then everybody's just kind of playing it, well, woe is me and life's awful. Like, no, life is not. There's so many opportunities. But at the same time, paying attention to people really are trying to either look for a solution or they're not in a great spot. I've had days where I'm not in a great spot, and I probably don't want to see somebody just bragging without any empathy otherwise. But there's a way of showing success, but lifting other people with it and giving hope. I think it requires some thought. I think it requires paying attention to it, as opposed to just, hey, let me post another thing about myself.
Yeah. And also just exploring all of the preconceived notions that probably most of us had. What is it, like 90% of all people that make X dollars grew into it and weren't born into it or whatever. Like, none of us were prepared for that.
Yep.
And we weren't taught to have that kind of nuance. Like there was nobody in most of our lives that could show us that path.
No.
And then when we get there, that's why you see so many people get there into the success lane, and then they just derail and they become insecure and narcissistic because we're all kind of winging it, man. You got to surround yourself with good community and people.
School didn't train us for this.
No.
School trained us for jobs. And then we usually, a lot of us, if you're listening to the show, I imagine you might not have been the best student. I don't know for sure, but people I work with were not the A students of the valedictorians.
I almost didn't graduate, Vince. I had my entire senior portfolio. I was like the night before they were letting me walk to get my diploma. They were like, "You're not graduating." And me and my mom stayed up for 3 days. God bless you, Mom. Thank you so much for getting through it. And I barely had enough GPA to even apply for college.
What year did you graduate?
96.
Okay.
High school. Yeah.
I graduated 89, and I found out the day before graduation that I would even graduate.
Oh man,
the day before.
Cheers to the almost dropouts.
but exactly. I think the reason why we do this is because we didn't follow the path. We weren't the straight A students. We didn't get that validation, and we knew there was something different. I remember in high school, a friend coming up to me, and he was concerned. He's like, "What are you gonna do?" Because I grew up on Long Island in New York, and they were all going to Tufts and Harvard and all these different schools. And I wasn't even going to Nassau Community College yet. I wasn't even accepted to a community college. And he's like, "What are you going to do?" And I remember saying to him, "I have no idea, but I'm going to figure something out."
Oh,
and I was,
man. Figure it out. Those are 3 beautiful words right there.
What's weird about it is, as much as I had no clue, I was confident when I said that. So I had no clue, but I'm going to figure something out. I just knew I needed to get out of here. I needed to get out of this building and just fail at something.
Yeah.
And people in that world, when they hear that, a lot of times they get it because they felt the same way. But the people that did well, that followed the rules, that did good on the test, that got praised, they went out to college, and they are not this. They don't adapt. I'm not judging, but they don't adapt as quickly as we do because we had to adapt so much in school because we were terrible.
Yeah, man. I've never told this story before. Okay. And if anybody who's listening hears this, that is a part of the story, I will not use your names to protect you. You know how like we're learning how to be successful and we're starting to see success. And then we get to that point where we're like, wow, this is amazing that this life is even possible. And we're doing it. Like it's crazy, you know? And it's still to this day, 10 years later, I'll text my buddies and be like, "Can you believe this happened today? Like, I can't even believe this is possible." Like, I still can't believe it sometimes. Yep. But it's just keep your head in. And, you know, as you go to different stages in your life, like let's just take high school to college, your friends change and your relationships change and the things you do change, right? You know, if you're a Kentucky fan and you got a buddy who goes to Tennessee, you're not friends anymore. That's just the way it is, right? But so you know, you go to college, you get a new set of friends, and man, I went to college with some amazing dudes. I still love them and respect them, even though we don't really talk anymore. And like, you know, and they were doing big things like in the medical field and making great money, and by any stretch of the imagination, successful dudes, man. You know what I'm saying? Great dads, everything. And when we got crazy, when this blew up, like beyond what I even thought was possible, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of, not only did we work hard, but there were some very fortunate things that happened in our journey, right? And when we started getting notoriety, like we started being featured in Forbes, we started doing podcasts, we started doing those things, I really thought some of the people in my life would fade away, and and not like that and have a problem with that. It's the old lobster or the lobsters in the pot mentality. Yep. One tries to climb out, they pull the rest in. But I thought it would be people who weren't achieving financially like I was. I thought it was people who might not get that not 9-to-5 mentality. No, man, it was the successful people in my life. Like they're the one, but they were the by the book, straight and narrow, railroad track. They played the game and got the doctor, lawyer, pharmacy kind of job that everybody tells you is the pinnacle of all human existence.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Those were the people that got really mad and negative and said horrible things about me and started talking and sending me messages, man, that were like calling you a scammer and doing all these things, and they just didn't get it. And I think what you said there was really poignant. Like, and if anybody's out there a straight A student, my wife is a straight A student too, so there's hope for you. Jocelyn did it, you can do it too. Right? But like the problem is, like, that's what we're taught, and you can't get out of the dogma. And when you get out of the dogma, that's where the beauty and the amazing things are. And we all just get stuck in that mode, man. And sometimes it's those people in our life, the straight and narrow people that played by the rules, that are, "You entrepreneurs, I hate your guts," right? You know what I mean?
I think I've heard this. There's a lot of envy, which is weird because until I got out of it, I envied them in school because
100%. 100%.
I never got the attention from the teachers. I was made fun of. I remember reading a book and my English teacher, it was before the class started, and looked at me and laughed with the class. Like, that's almost as funny as Vince reading that book.
Oh,
and I was like, what a great example you just set right there.
I know.
And I didn't let it, I was such a failure that what more are you going to do to hurt me? Like, I felt like a loser already.
The scars are thick.
What are you going to do? But I envied the attention and the grades and the potential that they had because everybody's admiring them for going to all these schools, right, in their grades. But deep down, I knew it wasn't me. And it wasn't hard. It wasn't easy to explain to my parents or to my friends. And then I think that flips, Shane. I think now what you're talking about, like flip lifestyle, right? They now at 35 years old see what you're doing or maybe what I'm doing. And they go, I've been doing this for 12 years and I don't really enjoy it anymore. I never really did a lot of times. I did it because I was good at it. And my mom was a lawyer. So I became a lawyer. Yeah. And now at 33 with a couple of kids and a wife, I'm like, I don't like this anymore, but what do I even do? Because I can't quit.
Yeah, it's a railroad track.
Yeah.
It's a railroad. You're not even on the highway. You can't even get off on the exit when you've got the railroad track built into your system, Yeah. And they're just trapped in that mode. I was playing Xbox with my brother last night. He lives up in Ohio. And so the only way we get to see each other is at night playing Xbox together, And so we're on there and we're talking. And he's a teacher. And he said, man, it's amazing. He said, what did he say? It's amazing how he'll get online and he'll like look at his county's like jail registry. And he'll be like, it's amazing how many times you can point to the jail registry and be like, I had that kid freshman year. Totally saw it coming, like, and it's kind of a cliche thing, but he's like, it's true. And I'm like, I wonder how many of my school teachers have been like, I wonder what he's doing, and looked him up, waiting for the jail registry to break out.
Your teachers are checking the jail registry for your name.
And they're like, why is it? Did he go to, he must have got sent to federal prison because he's not on the local registry. And then they find out.
Big stuff.
Entrepreneur, man.
What was it, Branson, that said you're either going to wind up a millionaire, a billionaire, or in jail? That's what his teacher told him.
My little girl is my boy Isaac is so like straight and narrow and good kid and just he's wise, man. He's like a little old man. He's just wise beyond his years, But my daughter, man, she's fury incarnate. I mean, she's just passion and love, and I mean, so it's very much like my son's like Jocelyn and my daughter's like me. And Jocelyn always says that she's either going to end up president of the United States or the leader of a prison gang. But either way, leadership. I mean, she's going to go something. She's leading something, man. All right, you lead Total Life Freedom. This is the brand that you lead, man. So I want to hear more about this brand. Where did this come from? How did you get in to this? And then I want to talk a lot about the community, because if you're talking memberships, if you're talking online business in the current era, if you're not leading a community, you're probably going to be out of business, right? You got to have some kind of movement behind what you're doing. It's not just transactional. So tell me where Total Life Freedom came from, and maybe the story like before that of what got you to it.
Yeah, it's funny because I was a photographer for 23 years. I think I mentioned you. I toured with WWF way back when it was WWF. I was, back in the.
I saw the picture of Mankind and the Undertaker on top of the thing.
Yeah, my picture, his lead picture on Facebook. That was the night in Pittsburgh '98 with one of the most famous matches. I was backstage. For those that get disgusted very quickly, tune out. But I was literally next to Mick as they pulled a tooth out of his nose.
That's incredible, man.
With the Undertaker standing over me, dripping sweat on me, asking him if he's okay.
Oh my gosh, what an amazing story! That's incredible.
And so I was a journalist for 20-something years. I worked for newspapers, magazines, professional sports. I've shot everything you can imagine: Super Bowls, World Series. I've been commissioned to photograph with 4 presidents of the United States. I spent a day with the Dalai Lama. Muhammad Ali's 70th birthday, they flew me and my wife out. She's a better photographer than I am. I have a louder mouth, so you hear me more, right? But she's better than I am, so I'll say that. But they flew us both out to Scottsdale to photograph Ali's 70th birthday party, all this crazy stuff. But what happened was I started getting where I was like, I felt more like a vendor than I did. Like, it got to a point where I was like, I was achieving all of my goals, all of my selfish goals. I would say everything I wanted to do, I did, but it was kind of empty. And it's a weird feeling when you get everything you want, the dream that you want, and you kind of look around and you go, I don't feel like I'm having any impact on anybody but myself. It was all mine. It was all my goals. How do I get it? And I got it because I'm driven and I'll go after it. And it was at a wedding because we were photographing weddings, and we turned, an idea. We hated doing weddings. We were journalists, and journalists are too good for that way back then. And we're like, we have a baby on the way and we need to make money, because I wasn't making very much money as a journalist, even though we were acclaimed. We worked in Evansville, Indiana, not far from you, at the newspaper there. And so my dad said to me, he goes, you have a skill, but you're not using it correctly. And I was like, what do you mean? And I was finally able to listen, get rid of the arrogance a little bit. And he said, you can shoot sports, weddings, corporate, you can do anything you want, and you're settling for $32,000 a year in benefits. And when your dad tells you that, that hits you in the gut when you have a baby on the way. So we started a wedding business. Within a year, it was a 6-figure wedding business. We did that for 12.
That's in the 90s, right? That's in the 90s?
Yeah, 90. What year was that? 90. No, 2000. No, 2000 and 2005. We started the wedding business.
So you transitioned out in the early 2000s and came in.
Exactly. 95, 94, I started shooting. 2005, we started the business. Within 2 years, we had paid off our house, paid off all debt, did the whole Dave Ramsey thing, and quit our jobs. And now we had this life of freedom that so many people in our industry didn't understand, because we were always trading time for money, shoots, the whole, there was nothing, you didn't make money if you didn't go out on a shoot. It's the only world I knew, right? So this world we're talking about right now, this is not like something I've built towards or dreamed. I knew nothing about it. But over time, I started reading Seth Godin and Gary Vee. It was early 2000, 2010, whatever it was, even earlier than that, and learning all about this stuff, but not knowing where to go with it. Do I do a wedding type of thing? Do I do a photography type of membership? I remember thinking about that, but never knowing how to do it.
And there was nothing back then to tell you what to do, really. Like when we started even in 2012, like it was so hard to find anything. There was no Reddit and Twitter and all this stuff.
Podcasts. No, there were like 3 podcasts.
Yeah, I know, right? Everybody listened to the same 6. Internet Business Mastery, Pat Flynn, whatever. You know what I mean?
Pat, right? Dave Ramsey, if you're into money, those type of things. But you started studying, and then I started writing a book. I'm like, I got to write something. And I literally wrote it thinking, nobody's going to read this. Nobody except my mom and my wife are going to read it, but I don't care. I need to get these stories out. I went through an adrenal fatigue that felt like it was going to kill me. And I was very honest with the book, because I was like, I got to get this out, because I literally thought one night at 2:30 in the morning when I couldn't sleep, I might not make this. So my kids need to hear these stories and how we did this. So it's our journey out of debt into business, and then how we built our business, how somebody else can do it as well. And I got fortunate. I got great people to endorse it. I got Seth Godin to endorse it, and Dan Miller and Brian Moran and people like John Rulin, not being in this world, which was weird. But I had followed them and I had connected with them, and very personal relationships at times. And then I joined a bunch of masterminds. I was kind of a mastermind. Forgive my friends. I was kind of a mastermind prostitute. I bounced all around. I was like, I was 6 months to a year in each one. I was like, it's good, but I don't love.
You were shopping.
I was shopping.
You were shopping for the right fit for you, bro.
That's right. That's all it was. Better word. And then eventually it got to the point where I was like, I know myself. I know my personality. If I'm going to be in this, I need to create it. I need to create the membership or the community that I want to be a part of. Because I remember even when I worked at the newspaper, I used to try to bring all these ideas in. And my editor, who was very straight and narrow, I got so pissed because I'm like, why aren't you doing this? And he'd be like, well, this and that. And I'm like, well, I will just stop bringing you ideas, right? Thinking I'm going to, convince him. And he looked at me and said, good. I said, oh my God, like he doesn't want my
That's
ideas.
Not a good sign when someone doesn't want more ideas.
Exactly.
Like, I'm out. Later.
He's basically saying, shut up. I don't stop. So what I've learned is I need to run my own thing. That's the one thing I've learned is I love being in the community, but I need to run my own show. And I need to make it exactly the way that I want it to be. And that will attract those right people. But as you speak about, it doesn't have to be for everybody. It should not be for everybody. And I like the idea of running a small niche community because I get to be involved with it. I'm not looking, I think so many people go wrong when they go, how do I scale this? How do I make this thing huge? It's like, nobody cares about it when I've been in so many groups that once they've gotten too big, the feel for it is gone.
If you kill your culture and your community, it could derail the whole thing. And now it's okay to want to scale, but at the same time, it's also okay to pick what you want.
Yeah.
Like we've had Brooke Castillo is someone who came through our community, and she's got this $35 million membership with 3,500 people. And I got this other guy named Jeff Twitty just sold his business for like double what we sold our business for back in the day. And people have asked me before, like, man, how does that feel when a student like goes past your numbers or goes
Mhm.
past your whatever. And I'm like, I don't care because I don't like to work after 2:30 in the afternoon. And that's just my choice. So I like to know, like, I know the names of most of our members. I enjoy that.
Yep.
And it's like, I can't, if I want more, I'll go get more. If I don't want more, I'll stay here. It's okay. Like,
Yep.
pick what you want. Brooke wants that. Jeff wants that. I want this. You want what you want. And everybody, if they would just embrace that, their membership would be healthier. And that's a way better thing than bigger. Always.
Exactly. And there's not, I'm with you. There's nothing wrong with bigger, but I think different personalities want different things.
Yeah.
Right. And I know, if you know what you want, and you can go and go get it. And the other thing you can do is you can expand. Like we have a small membership, but there's 8 income streams that come off of it. So we get to do a whole lot of different things. It's my ADHD personality. I don't want to do one thing, but we can have all these different things that come off of it without it being some giant thing. I don't care to be well known. I don't care to be famous or the rock star in the community. I like being a hidden gem. Once I've known that, I get to develop it. There's a lot of people that want the success, but they don't necessarily want to be a giant face in the world. That scares them, or they just don't want to be that recognized.
Have you met my wife, Jocelyn, Vince? Do you know? Have you noticed she's not been on the podcast in 2 years?
Yeah,
that's exactly why. She just was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. And she's behind the scenes,
exactly,
making all the thing run.
As with Elizabeth as well. And I think with memberships, I think so many people feel like, oh, they need to keep up with other people. That really will hurt you, in my opinion, if you don't know what you want and work for what you want.
Yeah, the culture of your community should actually be the star of your brand. You may be the leader of your brand, but the community is what should be in the forefront, right?
Yes.
Like I tell this story sometimes. We were at our live event in 2019. So at the end of the evening, we have this thing called the working dinner. So we teach all day. Me and Jocelyn are on stage. We teach every session, do Q&As, and everybody's working. And that night we had picked 8 people in the community, and we just reached out to them and said, I'll give some shout outs, like Nikki Rouse. She's an amazing woman. She's over at Sales Maven Society. She does sales. So we're like, hey, will you lead a table and help people with sales? Yes, I'll do it. Right. We had Rebecca Decker, who has a website called Evidence-Based Birth. She's an amazing CEO, like rock solid. Like, I want to be her when I grow up someday. You know what I mean? So I was like, will you talk about people about, scaling and building a team and all that? And we had like 8 tables set up. And when we walked in, it's your event. You're the picture on the marquee. You walk in, you think everybody's just going to swamp you and look at you and all that good stuff, right? Vince, nobody noticed I was there for an hour. Me and Jocelyn walked in the back, talked to a couple of people, but it was awesome. It was awesome. It was exact. And I told Jocelyn, that's what I've always wanted, for us to not be noticed. Like they're noticing each other. They're helping each other. They're doing that. And that people don't realize that when they try to start a business and they're scared to be the star, the face. No, the goal is them to be the star, and once you get there, big things happen. You know what I mean?
Because what's going to happen? The other way is ego based, right? It's look at me. I'm the star. I'm the leader. You've got to stay under my roof, type of thing. You can't surpass me. Opposed to what you're talking about, which make people around you so successful that they become the stars.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
Yeah.
I want my people to be the ones that are the success stories. It doesn't, and it's going to come back to you, because Shane, with these people all doing this stuff, people are going to be like, where did you learn this from? Like Shane and Jocelyn.
That's right.
That's where I learned it from.
Yeah, man.
That's what's going to sell your group.
Your business is very like it's similar to ours, but it's also similar to some other people I like to hang out with. Like, you've got a podcast, you're building an audience, you're putting those people into a community. Tell me about that flow. Like, tell me about your podcast and like how you use that to grow audience. And then what other things are you doing to grow audience to get people into the Total Life Freedom Mastermind and community?
It's funny because I will tell you, and I'm serious when I say I'm a terrible business person. I'm a terrible business. I am not I don't have the like, this methodology of like, here's my funnel. It's all relationship based. And I'm kind of, if you remember Mr. Magoo.
That means you're a great business owner. I hate to tell you this. That means you're awesome. All that other stuff's the bad stuff, dude.
I appreciate it, because I'm kind of, if anybody remembers Mr. Magoo, the cartoon, he was this old, clueless, rich guy who just walked, and he was blind and he could barely see, and he could only see a couple of steps in front of him, but he always wound up in the right spot. Always wound up in the right. And that was my life in photography. And that's my life now too. I'm kind of clueless. Like, I am not a guru on any of this stuff. I just keep going, and I kind of wind up in the right spot. And we could do a whole separate podcast about all the photography things where people go, how did you wind up there? Because I kept going and I didn't let all these things stop me. It's the same thing here. I love having conversations. I love getting on the phone with people. I love solving problems. It didn't matter if I got paid for it or not. And that wound up leading to people being like, can I hire you for this? I'm like, okay, how did you build this photography? Everybody's struggling in photography. How did you build a 6-figure business and beyond and pay off all your debt and have this life of freedom? Let's talk. Okay. There was no real business method to it at all. Yeah. And as you said, like, to the name, we leave every winter, we homeschool and we work from wherever. Let's just go. And when my book launched in 2018, I said, I don't want to do a book signing thing. I want to do a thank you tour. So what we did was we got on the road with our family. We spent 3 months on the road giving our book to the people that helped us. Pat Flynn was one of them. We got to meet for coffee in California.
Wait, you just drove around the country thanking people?
Yeah.
That's amazing, man. That is awesome, dude.
But what a better way to have an experience with our family, live the life that we want, and build the business. So, we got to go hand the book to Dave Ramsey, to Dan Miller, to people in our community, just friends.
Fascinating.
And then went out to California and we're talking with Jess and Pat, like, oh, I'd love to just hand Pat the book. Sat down at a Starbucks for 90 minutes talking to my kids about Coyote Peterson, about bugs. We talked nothing about business. Just want to hand the book. Seth Godin got to give it to him. He held it up on stage for me. It's now on YouTube on this. All this, people found me from that. It was no promotion involved with it except being thankful for the people that helped me. And that led to, all those things tied together leads to somebody saying, hey, can you coach me? Hey, would you start a mastermind? That's what it happened. Okay. I don't even know. I was in some. I talk a lot. I could ask hard questions. Sure. I think I could do a mastermind.
You sound like me, man.
Right.
Like I'll just keep talking until something comes out right and forget the other 9 things.
Exactly. And I'll challenge you. I love being challenged, and I love challenging people where you ask the questions that other people aren't willing to answer. The other people aren't willing to ask. They're afraid to, and when you can ask it and they go, oh, I knew that was there, but when you can go deep, to me, it was the type of thing where it's like, okay, now I'm in these masterminds. I want to run my own. What don't I like about these other things? I didn't like how short some of the masterminds were in. I felt like by the time we got into the juice of it, the call was done. Okay, so I'm going to double the time of the masterminds. I've got time. Let's make something really good.
How long are the masterminds you run?
Our calls are 2 hours.
Oh, that's smart. That's smart.
Eight people, no more than 8 people, and 2 hours. So amazing. We can go deep on one person for 45 minutes and it doesn't disrupt the flow and nobody feels rushed. Or we can. So,
and everybody, with 8 people, everybody gets to go every month in the hot seat if they want to, right?
Oh, yeah. You can
rotate through.
Essentially, if it runs according to schedule, which if you can tell by my personality, it doesn't always run according to schedule. We'll go deep with 4 people every week.
Oh, wow. That's because 40, nobody's going to talk for an hour. You can
unless
solve
it's
a problem in 30 minutes.
Yeah, unless it's something really
catastrophe
big
or something.
And that happens sometimes, but at least everybody knows I get. So it started with a mastermind. Okay, pretty cool. We can go across the country. I can run a mastermind. We're winding down the photography business. Oh, there's interest. Referral is the greatest source of business. Word of mouth. They start talking about start a second mastermind, sell that out. Okay. So you start learning all the stuff on the fly. Well, there's people that would love to be in the mastermind, but they can't afford it or they can't do the time, right? They can't commit that much time. Well, let's start a community. So it's a lower priced option and we can do calls in there, but it won't be as in depth. You won't get the access to me as much. And it's just built out to where, okay, there's the mastermind, the elite mastermind. There's the community, which is the mid-level price.
Okay.
Which we keep to no more than 100 people because we want that intimacy. Yep. But then from there, you realize we're creating all this content. Why don't we put it into a lower price thing, which we call the foundation, which is basically content that we do that's stripped down, and we do 1 call a month for them just to answer their questions.
Is that like a Q&A or something?
Yeah.
So
that was, when people go to me, oh, what's the structure I should do? I'm like, the structure for me was do one thing and do it really well where people talk about it, and your other options come from there.
So you started with the mastermind is how that's where your community kind of cemented itself.
Exactly. And the idea of it. Yeah.
Exactly. Your story is fascinating because it's kind of a principle that I've seen as a common thread against all the amazing people that I've talked to is like you say, I was fortunate, did this, did that, and I just kept going. But like, there's a principle that have discovered where you put yourself in the right place to be in the right place at the right time. But the problem is you don't know what the right place is. Nobody does. The only thing you can do is go.
Yep.
Like, I don't know what live event is going to open a door. I don't know what podcast is going to be good or bad. I don't know. I just have to put myself in the right place to be in the right place at the right time. That's how every opportunity we've ever gotten to. That's how every opportunity you've gotten. It's just you're like, I'm going to get a camper and drive around the country and thank everybody, right? Like, it's like, if that principle of getting into the right place just for the opportunity. See, everybody wants the guarantee. I don't know how many times people say to me like, oh man, I'm just going to research it a little more until I know. I'd go to that live event, but I want to see who's going to be there. Like, no. That's not how it works. You got to go. And then Russell Brunson has a great quote. He says, you have to work your way in or buy your way in. There are no other options. You got to buy the ticket. You got to friend of a friend. You got to put in some effort, some energy, some time, whatever it is, just for the chance at making it happen. But the crazy thing about all those stories like yours is every time somebody tells me they put themselves in the right place, they're usually in the right place at the right time, and they got a good story how they got what happened next, you know?
And the worst that's going to happen is you're going to get a great story.
That's
the
right.
worst is going to happen. And my life is stories. I got a t-shirt that says bad choices make great stories. That's my entire life. Right? So
I got a lot of good stories, Vince.
But so you can have a terrible conversation during that conference, but it leads to content, or it leads to a story, or some of my best business connections have come from those live events. I try to tell people, buy the ticket, get on the plane, take the time to go, because it's different meeting with you and I in San Diego at a conference and having nachos together at 9:00 at night and just talking than getting on a Zoom call.
It's
right,
just
man.
Different. Yeah, it's just different. And when I like it because like when I get to a live event, especially like people or anything really that you put time into to get somewhere, like you had to put effort. Like if you have to get in your car and go somewhere, you're spending gas. I don't care if it's free. But so like, I know that the people in that room at least want it bad enough to show up.
Totally.
And I know that the 90% of people that didn't do it, you didn't show up. And that's why you're not getting what you want. It's not fair. But no, you didn't get up and go. That's the difference. And
the influencers of I hate that term, but they notice it too, because who are they going to pay attention to? The person that spent $1,000 on the social media marketing ticket and the hotel, and who's taking this more seriously?
That's
that
right.
person or the one sending them a DM?
Well, yeah, that's why Seth Godin or somebody, Pat or whoever, will talk to you at a conference because they know you're serious. Yep. But if you email them, they're not going to write you back. I hate to tell you all that, because it's just an email. Everybody can email, there's nothing differentiated about it.
And for you and for anybody that's running a membership business-wise, when you show up at one of these conferences and you have 5 people from your community next to you, right? And they all go, you got to be a part of this.
Dude, listen, awesome. We spoke at an event and we rented out where we checked out the patio or whatever of the hotel bar or whatever it was. So, and we put an email out and we just said, hey, if you're going to be in San Diego, we're going to be here this night and we'd love to meet you.
Yep.
And so we had like 10 members show up on the patio that day. I learned about some people I didn't even know about. There's this guy in San Diego raising backyard chickens, and he's got a whole membership and a podcast about chickens, and he's making his full-time living talking about chickens. It's insane. His name's Kenny Toriano. And then but he was there and other members were there. We had people join on the patio on their phone just from being around that event because we were there. Because we put ourselves in the right place. Hey, let's go back. I want to circle back to the revenue streams because this is something interesting. There's lots of different things that people can, like I think I don't want to say membership. I'm not going to say that because I think membership is kind of a product, right? But like when you have a community, not an audience, but when you have an audience and that leads into a real community of people that get what you're doing, right? Yep. It does create all of these things. So what I wrote down so far is you've got your content area that you can charge for separately. That's a revenue stream. Anybody can join that. That takes no work. That's the one thing that anybody can join. That's right.
The other two, it's application only because like you said, culture is key and I'm not letting wolves into the barn.
Exactly. And you can do it very quickly without even paying attention if there's not any kind of screening. All right. So you have the community, which you cap at 100 people.
Yep.
Right. Okay. What do you charge for the community part of that?
Community is $150 a month right now.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's a little bit higher price. That's good. That's why you can cap that. Yeah. What's the lower tier, the content only tier?
Lower tiers, it's $30, $150, $500. So 30,
and that's good too, because you have a downsell. If people leave the community, they might want to keep the content, and once a month you're getting on there, basically.
Exactly.
All right. Then the core of what you started with was the masterminds. How many of those do you run?
2.
Okay, 2. All right. So you keep that really exclusive.
I have no interest to do the whole, let's scale this to 15. I have zero interest to doing like the 2.
That's fascinating because you know Aaron Walker? Do you know Aaron?
I was in ISI for about 2 years. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. That's amazing. They're getting ready to do their thing. I've been talking to him. Like I have a small group that I run, like kind of like you do, I call it my round table, because I wanted to be King Arthur and I always love knights. So I call it the round table. But like, that's more coaching. But I'm actually going to do what he's doing. I love the concept of that. And so I think yours is like a hybrid mastermind coaching model where you're in the mastermind, but you're coaching at the same time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I got you. So what other revenue streams then are you piggybacking off? You said there's like 8 things that you all can make money off of.
Yeah.
Help me understand, as a membership owner, that's pretty much all we do. So what else are you doing to make more money, man? Help me out here.
to begin with, I love to coach. And this all started as coaching. It started as one-on-one coaching for photographers. That's how that was the very first money that we made in this world as it built out. But what happened was, as a lot of coaches know, it gets exhausting and it can be emotionally draining.
Yeah.
That's eventually kind of went to, okay, instead of getting on a one-on-one phone call with you, which I seem like I'm answering the same questions every single time, how about you get into a group and I can answer that for 30 people instead of 1, right? That's how the membership idea came out. And what happened was, we've done very well at growing this, and it's become very optimized. And so I always, total life freedom is time, money, location, freedom. So I want time freedom way more than, like, money is important, but I want time. I value time. I value being able to do whatever I want to do every day. Right. That's a core thing for me. So I don't want my schedule blocked up. A lot of people don't get that. They're regimented. I am not. I want to know what I'm doing, and I want to be able to go to the beach or do whatever I want with my kids and be optimized with it. But what happened is, when you get good at that, that's one thing I'm good at, is optimizing that. All of a sudden, now we're running this, this community that's doing very well, and I don't have a whole lot of commitments. We have other people that run calls within the group. So it's a community where we have, niche mastermind calls on finance, on podcasting, on memberships, all these things that you need. We have niche monthly calls on it. So other people run a lot of those calls. I run the call on networking. It's, building a powerful network. It's the thing that I think I do best. I run a couple of them myself. Other experts in our group run those other calls. So, but what I learned was I could run this whole thing on 6 to 8 hours a week.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I was kind of bored, and I kind of always get bored after a while. I got bored with photography. So I'm like, wait a second, where did this all start? This started because I like talking to people, and now I've made it successful enough that I don't have to, and I'm a little bit bored by not doing it. So I added back in coaching. So
like one-on-one, like strategy
one-on-one
stuff.
coaching.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, okay, I want to give them the benefit. If they are a member of my community, I want to give them the benefit of being a part of this. So I give them a discounted rate on coaching.
Okay.
Which is
gotcha.
So
that keeps your calendar full, basically. You can take outside people, but you can also fuel people from your membership when they need it. They can jump in and do it.
And it's a one-off thing. There's no commitment. If you need me for an hour to power through something, I love it because I already know you. You're in the community. I can dive into you. There's no getting to know you. And then if you need me again, here are the 4 slots I do every week. Grab one if you can. So right there, full other income stream. And then
what do you charge for that?
It depends, but generally about $100 a call. It's not very much money.
Yeah. Just jump on the call. I like the one-off nature of it, where you're not like, because sometimes coaching is so oppressive when you've got like a big, long 6-month client.
I don't want it.
Yeah.
I don't want it. And I don't want the calls where it's like, okay, what are we talking about next week if there's nothing to talk about? That feels like a waste of time to me. Call me back when you're ready.
Yeah. And they're paying you, and they're paying their membership fee anyway. So it's just like gravy, basically. It's
gravy. So it's a whole. So then there's that, and then that leads off to we have coaching on the outside, which is a much higher rate, and so it's an offshoot of that because people hire me for that, and then they go, oh crap, if I'm paying this much money for a coaching call, I could join the community. And then
so would you say it's safer to would you say if you do it like that, right? Because I know some people will not go outside their community, some people will, whatever. Yeah. But the call of an outside call strategically actually should be more than that $100 plus the membership.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's $400 $400 a call on the outside.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's smart. That's really smart.
So I consider that part of it. We do live events. So, I had a member when we first started the community, when we first started the mastermind, he left my mastermind. He was in 2, and he called me, and I was so grateful for him. He said, the reason I love your calls, I like your calls better than the other one, but the reason why I'm leaving and choosing that one over yours is they do retreats. They do 2 live retreats a year. I had no idea how to do a retreat. I was like, it was a gut punch. And I remember calling Andy Storch, one of the guys in our mastermind. I said, Andy, we're doing a retreat. I have no idea what I'm, just like what you're talking about. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Rent a place. We'll show up with we'll see what happens.
What's the worst that's going to happen? We're going to hang out for a couple days and laugh. What's the worst that's going to happen? And it went amazing. So the first 3 retreats, I didn't charge anything for. And then we said, and then I literally had 2 people when we did one in Phoenix. So we do them around the country because I want to travel. And I want to meet people, and we can have experiences in different places as opposed to the same place.
Like so you could do a retreat for 2 days, but stay for 5 and just enjoy the place that you're going to, basically.
And we do it with our family. So we travel. So my oldest son has a business where he has tarantulas and scorpions, and he brings them to school and to schools to show them and to teach them. We literally were in Clearwater last month. He made $1,600 in 2 weeks, 15 years old, in tips from having people amazing. Hold a tarantula. So he comes to the retreats and he has people hold these things, like getting over their fears. So
all right, so hold on. Let me hold on. We got we got our content membership. That's one way we can make money. We got our community, masterminds, coaching, live events. I'm gonna put tarantulas. Tarantulas, a great way to piggyback off your membership and make some extra income.
We can pull that out completely as a whole separate income stream.
A whole separate thing. We'll talk about that separately. All right. Do you speak? Do you go speak too ever? Do you ever speak?
I have.
Oh, you got your book too. That's one of your things that you
got a book. Yep. The book is, to me, and I'll give it to your audience. If you want, I recorded the audiobook. I give it away for free.
Oh, nice.
I just want, Seth Godin gave me a great piece of advice when I asked him 5 years ago. I said, this book coming out. So when we first met and connected, and I said, what mistake am I going to make now that what am I going to know 3 years from now that I wish I would know now? That's what I asked him. Something to that effect. What will I know in 3 years that I wish I would have known today? And he said, you will wish that you didn't count on your publisher to promote your book for you. And you will wish that you got your book into 10,000 people's hands anyway. And I said, that's all I need. That's all I need. So I went out.
That's what everyone has ever told me. Like,
really?
Is anyone who has a book is like, the book's not necessarily a revenue stream. It's going to be what gets you to a revenue stream. And you should use your book to really cement your message and your legacy. And at the same time, get that book out there because that's your mission. That's your message. And you've got to put it in people's hands.
But at the same time, I'm not good at selling the book. I just want to give it away. Rachel Richards, who's a part of our community, she has a book called Money, Honey, and Passive Income, Aggressive Retirement. She makes, $10,000 a month in her book sales.
Dana Derricks. You ever met Dana before?
I've heard the name.
He does Dream 100. He's a Russell Brunson guy.
Okay.
But he sells his books for like $500. It's crazy, man. He'll give it. He has some that he gives away, and he does the audio book sometimes. But he's like, no, this book. He's got one book that's so like he's like, it's $100. You can't buy it. He goes, it's 100. Yeah, it's amazing.
I would do it that way. I would do it either free or very expensive.
Free or a fortune.
Exactly.
Right? You know what I mean?
Exactly. So the book to me was, I've heard this advice was, you don't make the money, and this is a generalization. Some people do, but you don't make the money from the book. You make the money from what's in the book.
Yes.
So the content from what's in the book led to this community. And that was the key. So now you can bring that up. So then I started a podcast. Now I don't monetize the podcast. It's a 5-minute daily short form. I don't even introduce myself. There's no music. There's no ads. It's a 5-minute or 6-minute, just boom, hit. I barely do any lead magnets, promotions. Like I said, I'm not good at a lot of this stuff, but I do it when I want, but it doesn't seem to matter because all the stuff flows from it. We have, you said income streams. We have the live events where we have one-day masterminds. We have full retreats. There's 2 different ones that are income streams that go without that. I do now 1 day in person, like 1-person masterminds.
Yeah.
So
like a workshop for a specific entity or whatever.
And for a specific person.
Yeah.
Like if I would have known this, it's like, oh, somebody I really want to follow and learn from, can I go to you for a full day? And we just dive right in. These things just keep building on. There's a couple others that I'm probably even forgetting, but these all build onto each other. And as an ADHD entrepreneur, it fits my personality because if I was just doing masterminds, I would obsess over it and I would eventually burn out.
Yeah. I think everybody has to find that. Like Jocelyn, one reason we sold Elementary Librarian was she got kind of bored with it. you know, like, cause it was so passive. It was ridiculous. It was
Exactly.
like, it was stupid. It was like, this is what are we doing with our life here? You know, I mean, we're helping people, but you know, and she got really bored. And then I think that's why in the last 2 years, I've really, as we've hired people, right? I'm like you, man. Me and you are like, I think I was born in Kentucky and you were born in New York, but I think that the same person was involved somehow. I don't know what's going on there. And then basically I get bored too. And my entire life, dude, has now been boiled down to podcasting and guesting and writing emails, because every conversation I have is different. It's so eclectic for me to be able to just jump on and talk to different people all the time.
You're saying like running the podcast or being a guest or both?
Dude, both. Like my team knows, like Shane's job in this company is to lead us. We'll do that once a week at the team meeting. But then everything that's built is so Shane can go podcast. Shane can host people on Flipped Lifestyle. Shane can talk to people on Membership Masters, which I might actually change the name of this show because the guests are so fun and awesome. It's kind of getting away from memberships a little bit.
Okay.
But and then I can talk to, then I guest on other people's shows so they can, you get to know me and we get to know them. And I love it. I love talking to people. Like I could talk to people from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock every day because it's variety. That I've built that variety into the rigidity of the schedule. So it's that's what it makes it fun, you know.
And for, like as we do this, like you didn't give me a script. I didn't give you a script. There were no questions.
People think, guys, we literally talked for 1 minute, and I said, "You ready? 3, 2, 1, and let's go." Like, and then we just start talking.
But that's why. And so if you're a personality like Shane or mine, you're listening. It's like you got to understand you can make a living with. I remember saying that when I was leaving photography because I remember feeling like I'm the vendor. I'm behind the camera. As much as I'm at these cool events, nobody wants to talk to me, and I want to talk to people. So I'm hearing all these conversations, and I literally want to put the camera down and start talking. They don't want to hear from the photographer, but I'm the one that wants to talk. So I basically said, how can I have conversations for a living? That's the question that I asked myself. Can I have And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, I think I can. And that's exactly what you're describing. Conversations for a living.
And some people, that sounds like horrific.
Yeah,
and it's like, and it's what's cool is, you can do it the other way too. Like Jocelyn doesn't have any conversations during the day. You know what I mean? Like she's just, she does a lot of emailing and back behind the scenes stuff, you know, but like if she doesn't want to talk to anybody, she doesn't have to talk to anybody. And it can be it can be baked into the business that you want, the membership you want, the community that you want to build. And that's A-okay with that.
But as with your community in mind, when you are that conversational, you're going to attract people like that.
That's right.
And you're going to have a more engaged people like, oh, your community is so active, because you don't listen to me and then go, I really want to sit in the corner. Like, no, you're going to probably get involved in the conversation, or we're going to bring it out of you. Otherwise, like, what's the point of being here? Let's have fun and talk.
Dude, we could probably talk for hours on that note. And, but dude, I mean, we just baked out 7-8 ways to make money off your membership after you get it set up. We just talked about all kinds of things, like how to put yourself in the right place at the right time. And this is fascinating, dude. You're an awesome man, and you've done a lot of amazing things. And man, I'm so glad that you came on the podcast today. Tell everybody where they can get your book, and since it's the audio book, and let us know where we can find you online.
It's all at totallifefreedom.com. If you go there, you'll see totallifefreedom.com/F2F book. You can get the free audio download. Anything that we do is on there. The podcast is on there. Anything that we work on is on there. And then the book. And we also have a course, a video course, 5-part that's about building a powerful network, which I think it all came down to that for us, was our network. And so many people, they create a product without any connection, and then they go, why aren't people buying? Because nobody knows who you are. You don't have a network. So we created a video course about that too. So you can get that for free. You can get the audiobook for the course there for free, and find out anything we do at totallifefreedom.com.
Vince, thank you, man. Appreciate you.
You're the best, man. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, that wraps up my interview with Vincent Pugliese. Man, what a great conversation. If I didn't have somewhere to be in 30 minutes, I'd have probably talked to him for about 3 more hours. I think I'm going to have him back on the show. It was awesome hearing how he has built an amazing online business and found total life freedom. That's what we are all about in the Flipped Lifestyle community. We are all about flipping your life upside down, giving you that money freedom, giving you that time freedom, giving you that security for the future. We would love to help you start, build, and grow an online business so you can find the same freedom that we have and that Vincent has through his online business. All you have to do is go to flippedlifestyle.com/free. That's FLIPPED, lifestyle.com/free. You can get access to a ton of free resources that'll help you start, build, and grow an online business too. All right, y'all, that is all the time we have for this episode of the show. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found today's podcast valuable. If you did, could you do me a favor? Go subscribe on Apple Podcast or Spotify. And if you could, please leave me a 5-star rating and a review. I read every single review and I cannot wait to read yours. After that, go tell a friend about the podcast and have them do the same. I'd also love to connect with you on social media. You can follow me on Twitter at Shane_Sams. Feel free to tweet me at any time. And if you want to learn more about how I became a self-employed, location-independent, family-focused online entrepreneur, and if you want to find out how you can do the same, head over to ShaneSams.com, that's ShaneSams.com, and learn all about my online business coaching community. Head over to ShaneSams.com and learn all about my community and my online business coaching program. That's all I've got, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, remember these words I live by. Dream big. Take massive action. Be consistent. Be prolific. Be relentless. And do whatever it takes to take control of your life and change your family's future. I'll see you next time.